Well, coming up on show 407, how did we get to 407 shows? We say congratulations to Nissan for a huge number of Leafs sold on the roads. A big milestone has been hit. Tesla have created the world's greatest muscle car, says one of the world's most famous motor journalists. And a wild-eyed old man who apparently was once something to do with the car industry, a chap called Bob Lutz, says Tesla are crazy. We'll find out what's behind those stories and many more. Lots going on today. Of course, the Geneva Motor Show as well. I'll bring you up to date if you keep listening. Well, good morning, good afternoon and good evening. In fact, wherever you are in the world, welcome to EV News Daily. It is Wednesday the 6th of March. My name is Martyn Lee, and I've been through every EV story I can find today and picked out the ones which I think save you the most time. Look, I know you're busy, so I'm doing the hard work for you. Thank you very much to MyEV, as always, for supporting the show. They have been supporting the show since the very beginning. When I first put this show on Patreon, it was because they were the first ones that said, hey, look, can we support you somehow? And that's how it all came about. And then a fair few individuals after that decided to support the show, and I'm still pretty much most days in awe of how amazing people are for funding this show on Patreon. Hey, congratulations to Nissan. Obviously, they're in the news this week with the Carlos Ghosn/Bale story. But look, let's focus on happy news. The Nissan LEAF today became the first electric car in history to get to 400,000 sales, solidifying the leading role in the global shift towards electric cars, they say. Introduced back in 2010 as the world's first mass-market EV, the Nissan LEAF has led the way in making the excitement and convenience of EV driving accessible to non-luxury buyers. Less than a decade ago, EVs were niche. The LEAF customers were early adopters. Fast forward to 2019 and everybody wants to drive an EV, don't they? Let's talk about one of the fastest EVs you'll be able to drive, and that's the Porsche Taycan/Taycan, the old Mission E, when it hits the road. Electromobility is the dominant theme of the Geneva Motor Show, which is going on at the moment. At the Volkswagen Group night, Porsche presented the Panamera Sport Turismo with hybrid drive and a charging station as well. Now, Simon Vaught, I think is how I would say his name. He is the e-services sales and operations person there. And he was talking about Porsche's plans, and I've managed to get hold of what he was saying and picked out a few quotes. He says that anyone who buys an electric or hybrid model from Porsche is offered a seamless and reliable charging experience. Doesn't want to worry about charging, they say. Everything's prepared. As soon as the customer wants it, the nav system will guide you to a suitable charging station. Then, and this person says that the driver, little sexist, he inserts the plug and charges the desired range. Sorry, female Porsche owners. They don't appear to think that there are any of you. Thanks to plug and charge, tiresome authentication processes are a thing of the past. Payments made automatically via the Porsche charging service. Simply, the car and the charging station recognise each other as soon as the charging plug is inserted. And this is exactly what everybody outside of the Tesla ecosystem has always wanted. And thanks to plug and charge, it's now a reality with the Porsche. And that's going to be coming with the next generation of EVs from 2020 onwards, really. Plug and charge will enable you to go into pretty much any charger. I think there's about 50,000 of them on the system now, 80,000 of them by the time the Porsche is actually on the market. And there, you just turn up, you just plug in, you just get billed at the end of the month. It's a fee that you recognise and you know what's coming. It's the way it should be, really. The electricity price is fixed. The only amount due is debited from your personal account. In principle, any driver, not just Porsche drivers, any driver of an EV can charge via the Porsche charging service. Now, when they announced this, I went onto their website to have a look, and it's simply not an option yet. They announced, hey, not just Porsche drivers, anyone can now register. The page simply isn't there. Maybe that's changed. I haven't had a look today, but it's a good shout. Well done, Porsche. On the subject of performance, though, like I mentioned, he also said this is a quote, and I quote, "With optimum drive technology and the right vehicle concept, the Porsche characteristics can be exploited even further with electric models. For example, the centre of gravity of the Taycan is lower than that of the 911. Thanks to the underbody battery. Therefore, an electric Porsche is at least as sporty as a combustion engine," end quote. So without doing a disservice to their fossil cars, which are still the core of their business, they're saying, look, if you want the performance, EV's where it's at. Moving on to Tesla, and regardless of the previous reports that high demand is pushing up the price of the high-end Kona Electric. At some dealerships, says Inside EVs, it appears the Chevrolet dealers are taking the $35,000 Tesla Model 3 quite seriously and adjusting their prices accordingly. According to Stephen Loveday for InsideEVs.com, the Chevy Bolt is now seeing discounts as much as $7,000. One of the avid readers of the website sent in a screenshot from Oregon. Been tracking the Bolt pricing at local dealerships. The headline price is $37,000. Of course, there's federal and state level incentives too, and they're definitely up because of the way that dealerships work. Unlike Tesla, there is definitely a deal to be done. The $35,000 Model 3 is good for Tesla owners who want to buy one. It's good for everybody else, though. If that's not your cup of tea, and of course Teslas aren't everybody's favourite, it's driving down the price of the whole market, by the look of this story at least, and that is surely a good thing. Talking of Tesla, by the way, later on today, Supercharger version 3 will be unveiled. All sorts of rumours today, actually quite fanciful ones, saying that I reported yesterday on a pretty strong Reddit rumour. You know, take it with a pinch of salt. However, those rumours got stronger today, saying that version 3 was going to see a massive redesign. The Superchargers were going to look massively different. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think people are getting a little bit carried away. There's actually no proof to any of this. Maybe the charge speeds of 200 kilowatts are correct because of what Elon said in the past, but look, I don't think that all of a sudden there's going to be some crazy wild design of the new Supercharger V3. Famous last words on tomorrow's podcast. Of course, I'll have the details. What with the time difference, it's going to be the early hours of the morning when it's unveiled here in the UK, so that'll be on Thursday's show. Top Gear have had their run-ins and court battles, legal battles with Tesla over the years. Former Top Gear host and current Grand Tour presenter James May is arguably one of the most famous motoring journalists, one of the most famous personalities, let's face it, not only in the motoring world, but around the world as well. And he's just experienced the joys and exhilaration of doing ludicrous in a Tesla, courtesy of the Tesla Model S P100DL. Says Simon for Teslarati. James May mentioned several of the vehicle's merits in his new review. The power, the tech, the quiet, comfortable ride. And the former Top Gear host even said that the vehicle was America's next-generation muscle car. And I quote James May, "The Tesla Model S P100D is the greatest muscle car America has ever produced, which means it's the greatest muscle car the world has ever produced." End quote. Well, May did mention that the vehicle is unique in the way that Tesla is unique, even if some of the car's basic characteristics, such as its panels, have not reached the levels of refinement as entries from other automakers. Oh, when are we going to get past this story? I don't know the last time I saw a Tesla with bad panel gaps. I know, they're out there. Don't email me, don't send me pictures of yours. I've seen them online, but in person, every recent Tesla that I've seen in person looks pretty damn solid. Well, James May was pointing out some of the P100D's quirky features that are based on Elon Musk's sense of humour. Fart mode, yes. James May noted that there is simply no other car like the Model S on the road today. And that was a complimentary, not a critical, there's no other car like the Model S, from an automaker that is unique. Moving on, a wild-eyed old man by the name of Bob Lutz, who shows up on TV programmes occasionally to give his opinion about cars. Apparently he was something to do with the motor industry once. Okay, my tongue is firmly in my cheek. He says many, many, many things about Tesla, which are, let's be kind to him, consistently wrong. Mark Kane at Inside EVs reports that Bob Lutz, the former GM chairman, was interviewed on CNBC about Tesla, because CNBC wanted to wheel somebody on that would really stick the boot into Tesla. He doesn't believe Tesla will be able to shift sales online by the way of introducing a $35,000 Model 3 standard battery option. Check out the quote, by the way, because it makes absolutely no sense. Bob Lutz said this on CNBC, and I quote, "I always said it was totally ridiculous to own your own dealership. You own real estate. You own the people. You own the car inventory. You own the used car inventory. A massive misallocation of company capital. So now they're getting out of that. They're going to close the stores. They're going to try and do all the sales online. I don't see how that's going to work. Who's going to take the trade-in? Who's going to take the used cars? Who's going to provide service with no stores there?" End quote. All right, let's dig into what Bob Lutz said. You know, former chairman of a big car company. We'll give him the time of day. He says it's mad for a car company to own dealerships. So Tesla are doing the right thing. Then he says it's mad for Tesla to be closing them down. What? Come on, Bob! It's one or the other. Holy moly. Surely that quote there is both things at the same time. He says, I always said it was ridiculous to own dealerships. It's too much capital tied up. And then says, Tesla are mad to get rid of them. I don't understand. But then, by the way, at the end, he says, who's going to provide the service with no stores, showing not just a small level of ignorance, but a mind-blowing level of ignorance about Tesla, which is probably why CNBC got him on, to be honest, because they're hardly Elon's biggest fans. Because we know the service centres are staying. Because we know that Elon's talked extensively about a service plan of people coming to you, of whatever country they sell cars in at the moment. They have guaranteed that if you have a car issue, they will have someone to you as quick as possible. This year, 2019, is the year that Elon focuses on service. And also the service centres aren't closing down. Many of those aren't also with the retail centres. Hey, Bob. Looking forward to the next time that you're on CNBC. We all love hearing what you have to say. Let's move on to Mitsubishi. Named after a famous ski resort, there's a new Mitsubishi called the Engelberg. It's a tourer, and it's made its global premiere today at the Geneva Motor Show. Best known for its panoramic views is the ski resort, Engelberg. Well-groomed runs and challenging off-piste skiing. This press release is going somewhere. And snowboarding. The Mitsubishi Engelberg tourer is a twin-motor, four-wheel drive, plug-in, good, has a plug, hybrid, delivers high levels of performance in the most challenging weather conditions, and all road services, they say. It combines this with the long cruising range inherent to the plug-in car, allowing journeys out of town. Somebody break it to Mitsubishi. You can do a journey out of town on a full electric car. Honestly, the misinformation. The Mitsubishi Engelberg Humperdinck Tourer has an EV cruising range of 43 miles. That's 70 kilometres on the WLTP cycle, which is a little bit, it's a soupçon optimistic. So maybe say 40 miles, 65 Ks with a fully charged battery. They say with a full fuel tank, you'll do 434 miles. That's a new stat I've never seen, adding up the battery and the fuel tank to give a total range number. Well, look, it's another plug-in. That's a good thing. It'll help people make the transition. Oh, let's move on to a story for someone's having a bad day today. Someone is having a bad night. Sleepless night. The Chinese EV startup NIO has just announced it's not going to build its own manufacturing plant in Shanghai. Reports Phil at Electric. NIO released its Q4 results and the full results for last year today. The company said the agreements it reached in 2017 to build its own plant in Jiading in Shanghai have now all been terminated. NIO will use the existing plant and state-owned JAC Motors to build any cars. The company says the agreement will give it capacity and flexibility to support market penetration. The company reported $720 million in revenue in last year. Don't get it carried away. Of that $720 million in revenue, unfortunately, they had a few costs. $1.4 billion net loss. Doubling its losses from the previous year. Like I said, someone's having a bad day. Let's move on to BMW. BMW X3 xDrive E. No, BMW X3 xDrive 30E. It's the new plug-in range. It's not a catchy name, BMW. BMW is touting its new and improved range of plug-in hybrids at the Geneva Motor Show. Now, at the volume end, you got the BMW X3 xDrive 30E going into production end of this year, and it puts a plug-in port on BMW's most popular crossover. It's got a 2-litre turbo gas engine with the EV motor, 8-speed Steptronic transmission, according to Autoblog, combined power of 252 horsepower. Autoblog say that the lithium-ion battery under the rear seat is giving it a 6.5 second dash, 0 to 62. That's 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. And also, according to Autoblog, next come the upgraded and next generation versions of the electrified cars in the series, the BMW 2, 3, 5, X5 and 7 series. So what's going to be popular? Well, the 330e The 330e is going to do 37 miles, I think it is, on electric power alone. That's a 50% improvement over the first gen model. As with the X3, the 330e has the power of a combined system, your gas engine, your electric motors. You get that extra boost of power when you put your foot down thanks to the batteries and the electric motors. Now, the batteries in some of the other cars, like the 225XC Active Tourer and the 530e, they grow in capacity, but they don't grow in size. So the energy density of those batteries is getting bigger, which we see across the board with EVs, by the way. So in the 225XC, you've now got almost 10 kilowatt hours rather than 7.7, and that'll do 29 miles of range. The 530e batteries up to 12 kilowatt hours, only taking the same space as before though. That's up from 9, so you'll do 35 miles EV power in that. So BMW really putting some money into their plug-ins. Of course, we love their pure electric cars like the BMW i3. Okay, let's talk Mercedes. The Mercedes EQC is a car that I am psyched about seeing sometime this year. Interestingly, the most recent news, by the way, I'll recap this because I know not everybody listens to every podcast. They said recently that they weren't going to bill it as an SUV. Now, it's quite a tall car, and people put it in the SUV category, along with the Audi e-tron, the Jaguar I-Pace, the Tesla Model X. But Mercedes saying, no, the EQC is not an SUV. It hasn't got all those off-roady type characteristics, no air suspension and things like that to keep the cost down. They want to undercut the competition, even though Mercedes is premium, is luxury even. Full electric cars are here, but what about full electric vans? We're going to need them. We have people on the podcast. Well, one of our sponsors, the limousine line in Sydney, is one of our Patreon sponsors, and anyone that runs anything that moves passengers around, whether it's airport transfer, vans, but luxury vans to fit luggage, to fit 3, 4, 5 people, are going to be very important in the electric world. Mercedes are trying to change that with the EQV. You knew that was coming. I thought I'd leave a little pregnant pause. The EQV, the Geneva Motor Show. It's only a concept, but the concept's been revealed. Mercedes says the concept is going to spawn a very, very similar production vehicle. The specs on it are promising too, says Autoblog. The concept will do 250 miles, 100 kilowatt hour battery. Of course, a van is not very aerodynamic, so it needs a big battery. It'll charge up to 25% in 15 minutes, 62 miles of driving if you just need a quick splash and dash and get some juice in the battery on an airport run or something, or out with the kids and taking them to soccer practice. The van won't be a speed demon. Single electric motor, top speed 99 miles an hour. That would still get me banned here in the UK though, with a 70 mile an hour speed limit. So good news, Mercedes, get that EQV in production. And finally, the most confusing story of the day comes from Honda at the Geneva Motor Show. They've announced the further acceleration of their electrification ambitions, much like Volvo did years ago, by saying all of their future models would be electrified. All the other cars are getting on the bandwagon now and pretending like they're the first to do it as well. They're all like, hey guys, we've had an idea. It's called electric cars. And everyone's like, okay, tell us more. Now, Honda announced its intention to go 100% electrified within 6 years. So by 2025, all of their range, in Europe at least, will be electrified. The new ambition builds on their previous aim of 2/3 being electrified. But what does it really mean? It means that there'll just be a battery in all of their cars by 2025. Well, I mean, they need to be to keep up with the market. Even if it's a soft hybrid, little 48-volt system is technically electrified, by the way. So it's a press release, but pretty meaningless. But well done to the team at Honda for getting there in 6 years' time. Oh, I've been cynical. Sorry, have I been cynical today? I don't mean... You know what it was? Bob Lutz started it. Whenever we quote Bob on the podcast, the cynic in me comes out. And I'm sorry, normally I like to be Mr. Positive, but he brings it out in me. All right, Bob, you've got a 1-month ban. Unless you say something particularly bonkers. Let's get on to our question of the week, thanks to myev.com. Our question of the week, keep your comments coming in, it's a great question. It is this: how do you feel about Tesla's move to online-only sales? Do you want a test drive of a car, or are you happy to take them on their word that you'll do 1,000 miles and hand it back if you don't like it? But what about if you've organised finance? What about if you've sold your old car and then you try it and don't like it? You've got to hand it back. Even though Tesla say test drives aren't needed, what do you think about online-only sales? Thank you to 197 patrons of the podcast for keeping the show going. I appreciate it enormously. Thank you to everyone who downloads the old shows as well. I see them tick by. It's amazing. It's a news podcast, but people love to listen to the old ones. Hey, who am I to judge? 406 previous shows online for free, all entirely searchable from the website. It's a little blog that I have going really to document the podcast. It's not the prettiest website you'll ever look at. In fact, if you look at the site, you'll think it's done by a child, but no, it is a 40-year-old me. It's evnewsdaily.com. It's super simple. It's really just to put the podcast up online, but I've added a search thing, and now it's fully indexable and searchable. If there's a manufacturer, a story that you want to listen about or read about, you can at least use that search functionality. Get all the new podcasts by subscribing. And I know subscription often comes with connotations of costing something, but podcasts are free. So hit that subscribe button on YouTube or your podcast app and get tomorrow's one before everybody else. And you get it automatically as well. Come and say hi on the socials, Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And I'm thinking about putting this catchphrase onto t-shirts, you know. Remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.